Hello everyone, my name is Pat. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing you guys my worst DNFs and most disappointing books of 2021. So we're gonna start with the disappointings. I think from bad to worse kind of books. So these are going to be my most disappointing books for 2021. Some of these are pretty good. It's just that they didn't live up to how I expected them to be. So the first one is, I didn't really want to include this one, but it is one of my most disappointing books of 2021. So that is When Night Breaks by Janella Angeles. Now, I wanted to love this one. I really did, because I enjoyed the first book, and I'm really sad that I didn't end up liking this one because the beginning was very info dumpy, which is understandable because of how we ended with the first book, leaving us with a lot of questions. And so the first part was very info dumpy. We're answering a lot of the questions, but then it turned into something else that I feel like was kind of like a mirror to the first book. The stakes were just not the ones that I was expecting, but also I just didn't care for the stakes. Like, I didn't end up the way that I did with the first book, where I really was rooting and following the characters very closely, and you know, their struggles and what they're gonna do and what is happening. And there's that element of magic and also kind of danger, but it's lurking at the background, so you don't really know. You can feel it building up, you can see it building up, but it's in the background. In here, yes, we're facing the danger, but it didn't give me that just compelling feeling of caring for what the characters are going through at this point. Like, I still care for the characters, but what was happening to them weren't really making sense to me, or weren't really things that I cared about. So fortunately, this was not it for me. Next is Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. This is actually from a book box. I think this is from Owl Crate, and I've heard so many great things about this one, and I've heard a lot of people have this duology. I think this is a duology as part of their like favorite books of all time. And it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I didn't care for the characters. I guessed what was going to happen at the end. I just had a feeling like the entire book of what like that one element was, and how it's probably going to get a reveal at the end, like a secret surrounding that kind of that element. So I guessed it, and so I feel like that affected the way I cared about everybody else, because I was questioning like why these certain secret was being held. It kind of made me question everything, and so I didn't care for what the characters were going through, what was happening, because I already guessed kind of like that twist at the end. There were some compelling elements to this one. I feel like I would have cared a lot more if I didn't guess what was going to happen, like that twist at the end. I was looking forward to getting to the second book. I had the second book on hold from the library because I wanted to read this duology, and I just didn't enjoy the first book. And this is pretty long. There's also 400 plus pages. So yeah, unfortunately, this was not it for me. The next one is Margot Mertz Takes It Down. This is an arc that was sent to me. The premise sounded interesting because the main character is working as someone who takes care of online stuff that you want to get taken down. And so she has been contacted by like high profile people as well. She was approached by a classmate of hers telling her about this site hosting pictures of girls their age, essentially pornographic pictures that didn't consent to being posted. And so I really liked the premise because it sounded very interesting, because I wanted to have like a main character that has a really strong sense of justice, is very capable, and is also very smart and has a lot of empathy. That's the kind of character that I was looking for, and that wasn't the character that I got. And I understood that her character was going through like an arc. She's a bit unlikable, but she's well-meaning. She does have certain kind of beliefs that are harmful to other people, but that will change. But I didn't really like her. Like, she was way too unlikable for me to root for her, for me to like her a little bit, to look forward to her arc. And she's handling such a very sensitive like issue, you know, and I didn't like her. Also, the ending was too abrupt. It's too neatly tied, but it's like presented to you just that. We didn't get the details of what happened at the end, and so it's like I didn't get the justice that I wanted, the justice that, you know, I was expecting from the book. Also, the writing felt a little too forced, especially in the first half. It's like trying to be YA, you know, and it's not. It's just like, that's not how most teenagers act, or most teenagers talk to each other. And like the youthful vibe and the youthful way of telling the story it felt a little too forced. Next one is Shift by Angie Hockman. This was touted as like On Honeymooners May Meet the Hating Game, because it's hate to love. They are co-workers, and it's during a vacation of theirs, and they spend time with each other. So On Honeymooners and Hating Game. It was meh. It was boring. It felt forced. It felt like it was just trying. It didn't work. I didn't care for the characters. It felt contrived. It felt forced. I didn't care for anything or anybody. And I wanted to enjoy this one because I really loved the Unhoneymooners and I liked the hating game. So next one is Echoes and Empires by Morgan Rhodes. This is one of the last books that I read for 2021, and I love Morgan Rhodes' Fallen Kingdom series. I was really looking forward to this book, but this was too predictable. Like, I predicted every little twist, every little reveal, and although it was very readable, it's a very fast-paced kind of read and easily consumable. And I didn't feel bored even though I was guessing everything. Still, this was a disappointment because I just wanted more. I wanted more. I did like our characters, but they were like your typical characters that you would get. You have your kind of dense, shallow, but also hurting socialite main female lead, and you have your thief, rebel, also with a dark, traumatic past male lead. And it's like, I like them, but just the overall plot, the overall story was so predictable, and I wanted more. I wanted to enjoy this one because, again, I really loved Morgan Rhodes' Fallen Kingdom. Next one is How I Fall Apart by Katie Zhao. Now, I went into this one knowing that it does have like mixed reviews, and it's probably something that I will like but not love. But this was super disappointing because at least I thought that it will be fun to read, and I will still kind of care for the characters and for what they were going through. There was no build up, there was no tension or like full tension. Like, we were building up to some like certain reveals as each of the characters' secrets were revealed, but after that it was like nothing happened. It's like, what was the build up for? What was the tension for? Why did it have to feel like high stakes for these characters only for us to not have kind of a big repercussion for these secrets? Like, after, it's like a step-by-step kind of guy. Like, there's no flow in the story. So one of the characters' secrets will be revealed and then done. Let's move on to the next one. It's like, okay, so why were they so stressed about these secrets being revealed if we're not going to see that? And why was it so important for the secrets not to be revealed when at the end of it, it's like nothing happened? Like, yeah, there are some negative consequences, but it didn't feel like the characters or the people around them saw this as like a super big thing or treated it like as a big thing, like how they initially treated like the secret potentially getting revealed, like the consequences of it. The ending, the way the reveal happened of who was doing the reveal of the secret and who killed their one friend. It's like, yeah, I get it, but also, how sometimes you would get like bits of suspicion towards other people? We didn't get that. And so we had really no idea of who this person was. And, there's no like taunting or teasing elements from this person who was doing this, so that, they're kind of leading them to one person and finding out that it's not this person. And then we get a reveal and it's this person. It's like, oh. And we get a reveal why they were doing it. It's like, oh. But there was no like tease to who this person might be, no clues, And so I didn't care. Unfortunately, and I wanted to love this one because it's an Asian dark academia. I wanted to love it. Fortunately, didn't. Okay, so Aetherbound by E.K. Johnston. I finished this one as well. The first kind of half of the book was really good, and I was, compelled to read it. I was very intrigued. I did enjoy following our main character, but the plot went another way, and it just lost me, and I just didn't care anymore. And I wanted to. I felt like I could have. And it also was very short for what happened in the book. We have an initial plot that we thought was going to be the main plot of the story, but it changed into something else. And we did that, and, it was great, but I felt like it could have been longer. It could have made me care a little bit more. It could have made me feel compelled to read the book more. I finished it. It's like a 200-page book, but it wasn't enough. I feel like it could have been a little bit longer. We could have explored, the relationships that were forming, the different characters that we started following, and, their kind of a main plot now. We could have expanded a little bit more on those. I wanted to enjoy this one, and I did the first half, first third, but once we get to the other main actual plot of the story, it just lost me. So fortunately, God is in the Machine by Laura Beth Johnson. This is another special edition book. It was meh. I finished this one, but I just didn't care for anything. It's another one of those that I could have probably cared for it if it was executed differently. Romance, I didn't care. It felt forced too. There's instant attraction. Plus the main lead felt like a caricature of his type of main lead, And I just didn't care. I didn't care about what was happening. I even guessed some of the things that was gonna happen, and so I didn't care. And I requested an arc for the second book of this one, and I didn't want to read it, so it's sitting on my NetGalley. Fortunately, we're gonna get into our DNFs now and our worst. So this one is not too bad. It's just that nothing was happening. I stopped at 60%. No, I stopped at 35%. And you would think at this point, 35%, you're a third of the way through. So, you know, you should have like a slow build up now. You already have like an established set of characters, or at least most of your characters are already established. Plus the plot is already there. Nothing was happening. Nothing was happening. This was supposed to be kind of like an end of the world dystopian sci-fi type thing, and nothing was happening. It was building up, but at 35%, you would think that we would already be somewhere else, doing something else. It's still building up, and it's like a very, very slow build up, and I didn't care. And so I was like, I don't really want to continue, and so I stopped. So I DNF'd at the 35% because nothing was happening, and I didn't feel compelled to continue it. So, okay, we're gonna get to our worst ones now. The Librarian by Christy Sloat. This one I DNF'd. I don't even remember where. It's probably like almost half of the way through. I don't really remember, but I really did not like the main character. She was very annoying. She was very unlikable, and she was like a total hypocrite. So the main premise of the story is the main character's grandmother died and left her this library that she was running. And she hated this library. She didn't want to inherit this one. So what she was planning to do, go back there and kind of figure out what she can do. And so her plan was to have somebody else run it for her. And she's going to go back to college, which she is, you know, understandable, fine. She doesn't want to drop her college and upend her life, understandable. And so she's going to hire somebody else. She discovers a book that transports her into this book and meets, you know, a guy, of course. And the thing about her is she cannot be bothered to kind of change where her life is gonna go. Like, she's set on what she wants to do with her life, which I understand. That's all your plans. But whenever her plans get derailed, she absolutely blames it on another person. And she doesn't take responsibility for her own actions or the way that these people don't really have control over what's going to be happening to her anyway. She likes to blame other people for things that they don't even have any control of. And when her friend calls her out for what she was doing, which, you know, is exactly what she was planning to do, which is not to run this library and to have somebody else run it, and she just has a very like cold and uncaring attitude towards the thing that her grandmother loves. And there's nothing even wrong about it. It's just a library. Sure, you don't care about it. I understand that. But the way she just regards it in a way that it's such a hindrance to her, and just very uncaring and crass way of looking at and dealing with something that her grandmother lovingly gave to her. I understand that it's not her thing, but she didn't have to be so insensitive about it. And her friend calls her out, she like got mad at her friend for calling her out, and she was like saying that her friend like didn't care about her. Her friend was being mean to her, like, you know, the kind of attitude. And it's just like, your friend called you out for what exactly you are doing. And yeah, I just didn't like her. I didn't like her at all, and so I had to DNF because she's a hypocrite, she's unlikable, and she's very insensitive. I get that you have goals in life, and you are not going to let other people like derail you from your plans, but to hate these people for some of the things that they don't even have control over, that affected you, girl. And she's in college, she's like 22, 23, she's acting so immature, you know? So yeah, hated that one. I don't know how long I ranted for that book, but yeah, I didn't really like it. DNF'd it. And then my worst book is probably Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. Now this one I finished, and it was, you know, it was readable. I mean, I didn't finish it. This is like 600 pages, 630 pages, and so, you know, you can still read it. It's just that the characters felt very two-dimensional. They felt like caricatures of like their trope, or like their typical kind of male characters. Plus, I liked the main female character in the beginning. Okay, she was badass. I will tell you that. But the way the story went, the girl was, you know, she was abducted, okay? She was sold to this group of men, and she was like, I will not fall in love with you guys, I will not be doing what you want me to do, etc. And then she falls in love with them super quickly at that. And so I'm just like, okay. And the spicy scenes there were a lot, okay? I understand it, but they were not it. They were not. It's like you know how you're reading something and just not feeling it, and you're supposed to be feeling something, reading words, and they're not really like resonating with me, that type thing. And so even though I finished it, it was a lot of fun. It's like kind of like a train wreck kind of book where you just can't put it down. You don't like it, you don't like what's happening, you don't enjoy what's happening, but you can't put it down. It's that type of book. Also, there's a certain way that I think the author enjoys writing that she just does every chapter, and was very annoying because I picked it up very early on and I kept seeing it like every single chapter at least once every single chapter of a 630 page book, and it really got on my nerves. It's like this on the back. This girl, she bites too. This guy, blah blah blah. But me, I blah blah blah. You know, that kind of question, and you answer. It's like, it's very annoying to read when you read it multiple times in a chapter, like every few pages. And so unfortunately this was a no for me. I didn't really have high expectations for this one. I knew it was mainly just spice and smut, but I didn't really like the spice parts, the smut parts. So yeah, so that is it for my most disappointing DNFs and worst books of 2021. I feel like I had a lot of fun like roasting these books, although quite a few of them were just like man boring and I didn't care. But there were some books that I just went on and on and on, which, you know, it's kind of cathartic in a way. My reading year usually is very good. Like my average rating will be like over 4.25 usually every year. So I would have like good reading years. But I feel like this year especially, I had a few like meh books in the mix. So that's great. You know, it's nice to have books that I don't like. So I'm not just like the type of reader who loves everything. I mean, I love a lot of things. But yeah, that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, even though it's like about talking about the books that I didn't really enjoy. Sometimes it's a lot of fun to hear somebody rant, you know? And again, it's like cathartic to rant sometimes. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on my next video.